understanding it depends on the type of bid, but at some point, all expenditure of government funds does become a public record.
Okay, so for as council members, we could see, like, or is it possible for council members to find out if a county employee was contracted to do a certain service? Like, for example, as Mr. Kern had mentioned, this person works for this department, but he did a contract on this, in this other department, right? And he's saying that there's a savings. Would the council member be able to find that out, or would maybe purchasing or the finance department be able to give us like some kind?
Well, as I said, the expenditure of government funds is always a public record. So at some point when that the monies are paid out, that will be a public record for anybody, or for the council. Any member of the public can inquire. In terms of putting that information together, you know, that obviously is a question that should be directed to finance. I can't see why you wouldn't be able to get that information.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, Councilor, so all I want to do is compare to see and let the public know that, okay, if we do amend this like this, and this is the cost savings before we did it, and now if we're going to do this and we're going to amend the county ethics, the code of ethics, then this is how much more we'll be paying in the future. So are you willing, you know, to, you know, I guess accept that, right? And that's going to cost more, so we may have to do less services or cut back on certain things and so forth. So just something to think about. And I guess...
Can I ask a clarification point on when you say amending? Are you talking about the amendment that Brenda brought forward, or the code of ethics?
Everything, overall, just overall, yeah, of what we're doing. And then talking about the amendment, you know, I kind of like what she put in, and then, but there is like a conflict about like the officers and stuff, so that's kind of rough too, because like I always mention that they do special duty for county services too, so that would be kind of hard. But to me, like maybe the value not exceeding over 50,000. What I'm worried about in case, like say there's some disaster that happens, and we need to contract out to somebody here, and they're an employee, and then if it's like say $300 worth, or maybe like 500,000 that needs to be done right away, we won't be able to do that with this limited. So that's something to think about too. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Yao?
Thank you. Well, I do view this bill as an opportunity to increase public confidence in government, so I tend to support it. Some of the concerns that we did raise at the last meeting have been addressed in this amendment, which I think is good, because if a person is employed by the county and they have a controlling interest in a company that's contracted with the county, and the job is for over 50,000, that's going to require a lot of that person's time and focus, which may distract from their county job anyways. But if it's a job under 50,000, I can see where that company and that person may be able to go forward with, you know, both responsibilities. So, kind of like this amendment. I'm not sure if having the special duty officer exemption is any problem or not. I'm not sure. But is the information that Mr. Onishi requested something we could get? Like what kind of costs this would mean to the county? Because I'm thinking that if it's well, for me, if it's a minor cost, I still think it's better to err on the side of confidence in government and perception or otherwise. So I'd be willing to see some jobs that cost the county a little bit more, but I think it may be a worthwhile investment. But is that a number you
Honestly, I don't know how. It might be possible, but the purchasing functions of the county don't really sort contracts by who's a county employee and who's not, is my understanding. So I'm not quite sure how the finance department would approach that and gather that information. I don't know, honestly, if it's possible.
The other thing I wanted to state is I think Mr. De Lima, he clarified something for me regarding, is that your client, Kamaina Pumping? Yes. That their contract...
Do you want to call, yeah,
okay.
Mr. De Lima, and Mr. Shida, I guess you might want to stay too, yeah, nearby. So Mr. De Lima, if you can identify yourself for the record and then proceed.
Brian De Lima.
But I think I wanted to thank you because that was also not clear last time, that that particular contract, the employee of the county doesn't hold a controlling interest in the company, so we could still contract with the company.
Yes, that's correct. The controlling interest is a non-county employee. His name is Lee Kunimitsu. That's who has a controlling interest. And the last time this bill was considered, Lee Kunimitsu was the majority controlling interest in that business as well.
And I don't really think this bill was aimed at any particular contract or person or company.
Well, we're hoping not.
Yeah.
I do want to comment a couple of things, if I could, on the amendments. First of all, in some ways, the amendments help, and in some ways, I think it's not in the public's interest. For example, the existing law right now requires that if the value of the services is $10,000 or more, that you have to have a sealed bid, or you have to proceed with county procurement code, or the agency has to give notice to the Board of Ethics. That's the law right now. Now you've deleted all of that language, and you upping the amount to $50,000. Now I think Councilwoman Ford's intention was not to deal with 285. Her focus was to provide for an exemption for people who have small contracts dealing with the county. But quite frankly, you got to reinsert, in my opinion, you have to reinsert 285, because what you basically would be doing is providing $50,000, giving it to someone who wasn't in the particular same division. So I think that creates a problem. But from my perspective, if you're dealing with perception, if you're concerned about perception, then to me, the perception should be, make it a value in excess of $1. Anytime you contract with a county employee who has a controlling interest, whether it be $100 or $10,000, shouldn't it be competitively done? That's the point. Shouldn't the public know that you're dealing with the county employee? That's the point. Shouldn't the Board of Ethics be informed that you're giving a sweetheart deal, or if it is, or just a deal, period, to a county employee, whether it be $10, $1? That's the point. That's perception. So my point is, and that's why I have a problem with this whole bill process, it gives the perception that something is amiss, that somehow, some way, your county employees have not been living above board. So you have to propose this bill in order to take care of the ethical dilemmas that are occurring within our county. And I'm telling you, that's not the problem. We have excellent employees who are performing their jobs honorably. Now, this exemption about the special duty police officers, let's talk about that. I agree, special duty police officers should be able to continue doing special duty. But quite frankly, they're county employees. They're contracted through the county. People hire them through the county. We pay a county employee to arrange for special duty. Now, you're taking care of them. Now, what about the Parks and Recreation people that's doing hula dancing and ukulele lessons? Well, are we going to go through the procurement process for that? So I think the existing law deals with the problem, which is you need laws in place to make sure that the Board of Ethics can deal with unethical employees. And when people have a complaint, they make it to the Board of Ethics. Board of Ethics has found people to be acting unethically, and that's how you handle it. So there was a saying that, well, county employees have to make a decision whether they're a county employee or an entrepreneur. And I'm saying, well, what's the problem with being both? I don't see the problem of being both. That's the American way. You put in your job, you put in your time, you do your job, you do your work. Now, the person who's not paying attention to their job, well then their supervisor should fire them if they're not paying attention to their job. But if they want to invest with other people, and some people may invest in a company where they're not a controlling, so I appreciate the fact that you guys are not messing with the controlling interest language, because that's what I was worried about the most. If people want to invest and into an entrepreneurial project, isn't that the American way? Why are we trying to control people's ability to invest and use their ideas that they may be gaining in everyday work life? Basically, you say, if you're a county employee, forget about doing anything but your job. Forget about even thinking about moving your family up, investing, or doing anything else. You just do your job. Don't ask any questions. Well, you can ask questions. Do your job. Don't expect to do anything but your job if you want to contract with somebody else. But county employees, what do they know most about? The county operation. So when people saw opportunities in terms of maybe improving a situation or competing, and I think Mr. Onishi's point is, and that's the last point I wanted to leave with, is this. Look, when companies are making millions of dollars in contracts with the county, why is that? Because there is no competition. Okay? Even Kamaina Pumping Inc., it came into existence because it competed with a Honolulu company. It was awarded the low bid. But when Kamaina Pumping Inc. was the only bidder, okay, their costs went up. When there was competition with Kamaina Pumping Inc., and it's well reported in the Wasawai today, they did several stories, the price went significantly down. Competition brings prices down. So what is going on now? You have competition going on right now. So I don't know if the company that Mr. Kern was speaking of is competing or not. I have no idea. But you do have strong laws in place now. And my whole point is, when there's violations, usually people know when people are getting self-dealing, what do? They usually, when people are crooks, people find out about the crooks. Because nobody wants to be working with a crook. And they're going to go to the newspaper, they're going to go to the Board of Ethics, people are going to complain because we're all taxpayers. We all live on the same island, we all pay taxes. I already took too much of your time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Yafi still have the floor.
I'll yield at this time to
Okay.
any other councilor that wants to ask.
Councilmember Elatan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, you said a lot of things that I agree with, and I was gonna go through the whole thing in the sense of what is the problem, because we have this bill, and now the perception is that there is a problem because we have this bill. And I was thinking what Councilmember Kanuha was mentioning was that we have to get rid of the perception. Well, what is the cost for getting rid of that perception? The cost is not letting these individuals become the entrepreneurs they want to be. Now, what is if we don't deal with that perception, what do we lose? We lose that public trust. And I was thinking, how do we gain public trust? Well, the thing about public trust is that we can find out what the data is, what's the fact. But when I went on to procurement, when this bill came out, I asked them, can you give me a list of who contracts, and they just don't record that, they don't track that. That doesn't mean that they can't start now and find out along in the future and find out what amount we are saving, or what we, because of this competition, how is that contract going down? And at the end of the day, it really is the public trust that most people are concerned with. And I feel like, well, what Mr. De Lima said was that there's already laws in place. I mean, $10,000 for any procurement for an excess of $10,000 for that would be sealed bids. If sealed bids are, well, anyway, I think I'm gonna stand firm in the sense of I'm not gonna support the amendment, and for now, I'm just not gonna support the amendment, and then we'll see what will happen with the main bill. Thank you.
Yeah, we're on the amendments, yeah. We're on. Yes. Okay, Councilmember Yoshimoto?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Ford is looking for comments about her amendments, so just a few comments. I'm not speaking to whether I support it or not, but just the general comments, Ms. Ford. So, I see here that you mentioned parent, spouse. I would suggest if you're going to include parent, spouse, siblings, you also include ex-spouses, because divorce happens often for whatever reason, just to be thorough in that. In terms of the 50,000, I had the same question about why are we choosing 50 over 10. I think Mr. De Lima already addressed that, so we should be consistent one way or another if we're going to do that. You're also providing that the mayor, managing director, and deputy managing director shall be prohibited from contracting with any county agency regardless of the contract value. You probably should add elected leaders, council members, state senators. Why not? Let's put us all in the same boat. Don't you think? Since we're going down that road. Okay. Anyway, just ask for some comments.
May I put that on the public record? I don't like my amendment, so go for it.
Okay. Well, no, you're just asking for comments. So these are just my initial thoughts. And as far as exempting police officers, well, that's a good thing. But then again, I'm always worried about who gets left behind. And so we already talked about the instructors for various summer programs and things like that. So really to take an informed look at this, we really need to get into the details like other council members have suggested. When we look at who contracted for services to the county, it would probably be an in-depth review, in terms of getting a list. I don't think finding out who our employees are that difficult, because I think we have a global email list where we could see if you typed in John Doe, you would see if he was with this department or that department. But I guess the detail that it would involve would be, again, listing all the contractors with the county, then going through that process of seeing whether they're employed with us and whatnot, as in terms of getting an analytical or financial point of view. But those are my comments on your amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Councilmember Kern.
That's his second.
It is.
Councilmember Ford.
Thank you. I would be happy to withdraw this amendment. Mr. Rashida, would you come forward, please? I tend to agree with Mr. De Lima and Mr. Kern on this situation. I certainly don't want to go above 10,000. In fact, $1 sounds pretty good to me. Mr. Ashida, under the current code, not counting Bill 181 or my amendment, right now the police officers can do the contracting they can contract under the special duty. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and there's no problem. What do you think about dropping the 10,000 to $1?
Talking about the 10,000.
Yes, in section 2-85. I kind of like that idea.
Ms. Ford, just point of order. If you're going to do that, you probably should have an amendment.
Okay. All right. You're right. So strike the question and let me go back to this. Is there anything in which that Mr. De Lima said that you disagree with?
Well,
It's open.
This is
I liked what he said.
This is not a cop-out, but really the fact of the matter is I don't vote. You vote. You are the policymakers. Whether I agree or disagree with this is really neither here nor there. It's my function is to advise you as to the legality of this bill in terms of the policy aspects that really belongs wholly to you. And as a matter of fact, I think that our office has been questioned in the past in more contentious matters of injecting our personal opinions or our policy opinions concerning matters. So I really made a conscious effort to stay away from that. So like I said, it sounds like a cop-out. It's really not. It's really just trying to protect the integrity of our office. It's wholly up to you. If you want to, if you're talking about 2-85 and, you know, basically,
Mr. Shida, actually, I'm on my amendment, which only covers 2-83, and my comment was that I tend to agree with Mr. DeLima, and I asked if you had any disagreements with what he said on 2-83, but if you want to maintain a non-interference with the county's rights and privileges, I would be very accepting of that.
well, what's your specific question? What specific aspects of what Brian said? Because he said a lot.
Okay, we're not getting anyplace. I'm going to withdraw this amendment. Thank you very much, Mr. Shi.
So we're now back on the original Bill 181. And Councilmember Willie?
Okay, I'm on yellow, folks. Okay. I just want to say I don't always agree with the mayor, but I do appreciate in this case that what he's trying to do is raise the standard, ethical standards. I did sit through the discussions on this matter when it became before the Board of Ethics. And I was concerned, and I did at that time testify as a public person in favor of it. I have heard of problems, not just appearance problems. I haven't researched them, I don't know. But I'm just saying that there are, you know, in other words, I'm not sure, not sure that this is just appearance. And I just want to appreciate the administration for whatever reasons, and looking at it, they are the ones that basically execute these contracts, and that putting that all together with whatever appearances or issues that have come up or questions, feels that this is important. It obviously, he did feel it was important because he pushed it with the Board of Ethics. He's now pushing it independently with us. And so I just want to say that I respect that, and it does play into how I weigh this proposal. In terms of specifics, I just want to get to going from yellow to white being Brenda's. The definition.
Yeah,
I know what we're on.
We're not,
I know what we're on, boss.
Okay.
Let me go. What the yellow doesn't have, one of the things the yellow doesn't have, and as you said, it could be added to it, was in terms of defining sort of who, quote unquote, family members are. The bill as it's now, or the mayor's proposal, or however you want to put it, as amended, refers only to employees' spouses or dependent children. Other places in our ordinances, we do refer instead to a parent, spouse, sibling, child, stepchild, or household member. I think that that's better language, and that can be amended in here. I also wonder about the controlling interest language. You know, controlling interest entities, for me, legally, they can get moved all around. I would probably go with significant interest. I do think there are countervailing pros and cons that members Kern and everyone else has brought up, and what are the costs to us, and where does that leave us? So I just want to recognize, I do think in what Councilmember Onishi has talked about, that we are a limited island, and we are certainly financially need to be very careful, and that plays into it. You know, I do feel that we could talk more to the administration. They have been pushing this as something important. I am probably going to lean towards, unless I'm told by the administration that they wanted to hear from us, that they feel okay, I will be supporting it. So I feel that there are a lot of issues that are uncertain, and I agree with everything everybody said, and I understand that point, but I just, sometimes one doesn't want to go through all of, well, this was that, and all of the things that have happened, and why the administration feels that this is important. So I'm just going to, if it comes down to it, I will be supporting it. If there are ways that we could work with the administration more to address some of the countervailing issues, I would be happy.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Kern?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we're at a challenging crossroads now of public perception and fiscal responsibility. And I think, for all personally, I'm just uncomfortable making a decision at this point in time. I honestly think we do need some more data. I would like to see that process, at least maybe back 5 years, 6 years, contracts that are awarded, county employees, the involvement, savings, and try to get a parameter so we can shake it out. And regardless of which way the bill ends up going, we try to both solve public perception as well as fiscal responsibility. I just don't think with the information that we have right now, we can do that. We could pass this right now and potentially save public perception, and then that public perception may change that, oh, you guys are fiscally irresponsible, and it's just, you know, and then it's like a great question that is right now, that's why we need more information, is are we more uncomfortable with perception, or are we more uncomfortable paying more money? Are we more uncomfortable with the perception, or are we more uncomfortable with having to pay more property taxes? And that's all that's where it is right now. That's why I think let's get some more information. I think this should be postponed. I think we should request through the finance department, whatever department we need to go through to get it, and try to get that information, try to dissect it, so we could sit down and say, here's the issue, you know, here's a problem, here's a solution, and try to find something that will address all of that. Maybe we can clear up public perception, and we can still take care of our fiscal responsibility, and try to find a balance in a win-win situation. That to me would be the most diligent approach.
Councilmember Hilo?
Thank you. I would agree to postponement and request that between now and the time it comes back to us, that even if we don't have exact data on the dollar amounts, at least we could get some idea if this could be a significant financial problem for the county or not. And the other one that I would like to see come back to us is that language to be consistent with other parts of the code, so that I think Ms. Ford was going there with her amendment, but we could insert some of that language back into this bill in the form of another amendment. I'd like to see that too. So I'll look at this time, but that would be, I agree with Mr. Colonel, and that would be a good thing to do.
Okay, Councilmember Willie?
Mr. Dick, can you come back again? My inclination would be to pass this as is with changing I'd like to change the language from where it says just child and then after passing this, work on refinements. unless you said, no, it's not important, we're fine with the postponement. So do we sort of, where do we hold in place while we do this refinement? I mean, what others are talking about, let's postpone, get the data, pull it in. I'm not sure that that's going to be so easy to evaluate. And is it important to you, to pass this now and work on how we maybe modify that? Do this as the hold in place position? Or are you comfortable with hold in place with the current law?
Well, let me just make a couple of observations. I mean, however the council wants to proceed, it's fine, of course. It is a priority for the administration. It's an important measure, obviously. It's been brought back to the council twice now, and the mayor would very much like to see it pass. So I'm not quite sure how to answer the rest of what you were saying, but in terms of the research.
I'm just saying, are you, I mean, I would like to go ahead and pass it, and then work on refining some of the issues, where can we do the clarifications, and just be supportive of this concern. I'm really at the area of the concern, the big picture concerns, and I guess unless you say, I mean, it has been going on 6 years. I've followed it. I know of complaints to me, and that it is, and they may end up turning out to be just perceptions, but things that are important. So I think I'm probably going to vote against postponement, but with the qualification that I would like to, trust that the administration would perhaps work on how do we evaluate, how do we minimize any of the negatives against being fiscally responsible, which he certainly, we're usually on opposite ends. Often, sometimes disagree on that. But anyway, I will oppose the postponement and really just trying to, that we hold in place while we work on the issues from the more ethical, whether you say in appearance positions.
Councilmember Onishi.
If there's nobody else wants to say, oh, okay, maybe Ms. Ferdinand, I wanted to make the motion.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
Okay. We've been dealing a lot with section 2-83, fair treatment, conflicts of interest. It has not really been covered very well. So let me just do the conflict of interest one first. The way, this is on page 3 of the yellow. The way this is written, I don't have any idea who determines what's the best interest of the county. I mentioned this before. And as I read this, I see that our rights as an officer or an employee, all of us, all 2,700 or whatever we've got right now, lose our rights to free speech. I think this section is very badly written, and I'm very concerned. I was going to ask to bifurcate the bill and vote on this separately so I could vote no. However, so let me just say that that's in my mind. The section in 2-84 is out. In section 2-85 contracts, I agree with Mr. DeLima. This whole section should stay in, which is why I withdrew my amendment, excuse me. And maybe this section should be not only left in, but dropped to $1. The question in my mind is, what happens in an emergency if we have a disaster? How do you do a sealed bid in a disaster situation? And I don't know the answer to that, and that's a concern. But the sealed bid process, I have faith in the sealed bid process. The complaints that I personally have received are complaints about a job not well done, not about the contract itself, but a job not well done. And when I find a job not well done, in every case I have reported that to the appropriate department head and had them rectify the situation one way or the other. They take care of it because there's a contract. So I understand that there is a public perception that the county employees who may have some financial interest in a business, they're concerned about that. My concern is getting the job well done. That's where I see a problem. I have not yet seen a problem with a sealed bid. And until somebody comes to me and says, they're steaming open the bids, you know, and handing them out to other contractors, that's a problem. But that's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing a job not well done. So there's two different issues going on from my perspective. Secondly, the Section C, all of Section C, whether it was in my amendment or here in the bill, was put in by the administration. And I'm no longer comfortable with Section C at all. Section C and Section 2-83 subsection C, I'm really not comfortable with that at all. I think we're going to cause our police department problems for special duty officers, not to mention other situations that have come up I'm really uncomfortable with. So then I think about this report we're potentially going to ask the administration to do. I cannot even begin to imagine how they would do that report unless they went to every single contract in every single department and looked at the owners / officers of that organization to find out if they were a county employee at the time the bid was awarded. And I think logistically that's not even comprehensible. And maybe it is, I don't know, maybe we have some magic program in there that's going to do it in the counting system, but I don't personally see it. So the question is, if we don't have some magic program to do that kind of an analysis or bring up the information so a person can do the analysis, what good is it doing to ask for the report? And I don't know that that is a problem. I think that's a problem for us, and I don't think it has a reasonable solution. I mean, if this took, I'm making up a number, 6 months, and they came back and they said, well, you got 5 employees, and A through E, and they did this, and it's like, so what? What have we gained from that information? So I'm uncomfortable asking the administration to jump through that hoop at this moment in time because I don't know if they can do it efficiently. So I'm frankly reaching the point where this bill needs to be just voted down. If they want to come back and add, if somebody on the council, including me, wants to come back with spouses, stepchildren, all that, that's easy to do. But the more I look at this, I think postponement might not be the most prudent course of action. It might be to just vote it down. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Onishi? Oh,
Okay, I know there's not a motion yet to postpone, but if the data would take 6 months, it's not something that I was looking at. I'm thinking that we could just postpone it for another session in the next couple of weeks, just to have a feel for the situation, not specific accounting. And also that would give us time to add this other language that would make us consistent for the significant controlling or controlling interest in the company. So I just wanted to clarify that. I wasn't looking at a 6-month postponement.
Councilmember Onishi?
Okay, I make a motion to postpone Bill 181 to the call of the chair, because what I wanted to ask the administration if they would be able to at least look at maybe one department, or we can even find out like which department would want to see, and then they can look into just that one department. So I want to ask suggestions from the council members. Maybe they can just look at one department for now, because like you say, to look at all of them might take a while. It might take 6 months. But if we focus on one department, I think that could be done maybe within a month or so, and I think that can be done.
Okay, so any discussion? There's a motion for postponement to the call of the chair. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved by Councilmember Onishi and seconded by Councilmember Kern to postponement and the call of the chair. So discussion on the postponement, Councilmember Kern.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Nishi, I think that makes a lot of sense. We have 1 or 2 departments that would have the greatest impact, and you'd be able to take care of that. That would be great. I think at least give us a sampling so we can have some type of metric. Again, I wouldn't want to wait 6 months either to go through a whole thing. And yeah. So I think this will give us some more basis to be able to make a smart decision.
Okay. Any other discussion on the postponement, Councilmember Ford?
Okay. Now, I'm making an assumption here that Mr. Nishi's going to choose the program, or the departments, or?
Well, I wanted just discussion from the members,
Okay,
yes.
before you name any departments.
Yes, correct.
Okay, I would just like to say, this is starting to feel like we're going after a particular company. And I have discomfort with that. Depending on what department you choose. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay.
I just like to
So-
kind of echo what.
Go ahead.
What I was looking at doing Parks and Rec. That's what I was looking
So, okay, so on the postponement. Any other discussion on postponement?
Yeah, let's make sure that we try not to have any perception of narrowing down a specific company by any means. It's
Okay.
keep it neutral.
On the postponement, so,
Yeah, I
Councilmember
also
Wu?
do public works and Parks and Rec and public works.
okay. So everybody, on the postponement, I'm not in favor of a postponement, and I don't agree that we should be targeting, I supposed to speak last, so is it okay that? I'll yield to you first, Councilmember Kanuha.
Sorry, Madam Chair, press the button too late, I guess. I'm also, you know, we've been dealing with this for a long time already, and it keeps on coming back to the council, and we keep on postponing it and talking about it, what's wrong with it, what's good with it. It just seems like it's going on forever. And, you know, I appreciate what Ms. Ford did in writing a few amendments, what we were talking about, but if we keep on talking about what's good and I don't see any more amendments of what's good inside here and what's bad, it just seems to make no sense that we keep on postponing it. Either it's good or it's bad, or, you know, that's it. So I just want to make sure that if this postponement does go through, that the concerns are brought up in amendments for us to discuss them. If anybody feels that the amended versions are good or bad, then let's have it there. You know, I can't see us going on and on and on and on forever with this thing. So that's just I don't know if I'm gonna agree with the postponement or not, but maybe a time specific might be better, or a date specific, but I just don't wanna be sitting here for a few more months and we haven't heard the bill yet.
Councilmember Eoff on the postponement?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know, I kind of agree with Mr. Kanuha. I wasn't intending to postpone. I support this bill. I'm just concerned about the language, if we needed to make it consistent with other sections of the code of ethics. But is there, that was my main concern. The other ones, I think, if we postponed for 2 weeks, I think we could find out enough that would satisfy me. I really don't think that the dollar amount that we're going to cost the county by adopting this bill is significant enough to prevent us from restoring, or not restoring, but restoring faith in government, if that's the intention. But I'm not trying to say restoring, but just to build. If that is what this bill is intended to do, I want to support that. I want to make the language consistent. I'm not sure who would bring forth that amendment. If we need 2 weeks postponement for that, I'm more interested in that. Thank you.
Councilmember Ford?
On the postponement, I'm not going to support the postponement. At least that's what I'm thinking right now. If I were to amend this bill to include familial relationships and everything, I would rather do it as a clean bill. I would write a whole new bill, and that's all I would be changing in it, except maybe the 10,000 down to $1 or something. That would be all I would do. I don't like this bill. I don't like that they put these two sections together, and I'm not going to support this bill. So postponing it, to me, isn't going to gain to me that we won't gain enough information for me not to stop hating, especially the second half of the bill. And after today, I hate the first half of the bill. So why postpone something I'm going to vote down? Thank you.
Councilmember Woody on the postponement?
I'm not going to support the postponement, and I would be comfortable after all of this wrangling, moving it forward and looking at it. We still has to go another couple readings, just correct me, what do we, it's now a committee, have to go twice to council. And maybe we can do a few amendments so that Ms. Ford doesn't hate it as quite as much, but whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna support the bill, but I just will say that when it goes, if it were to pass at council, try to do some of the improvements that we've been discussing.
Thank you, Councilmember Kanuha on the postponement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just really quickly, I will be supporting this postponement because I think if we don't support the postponement, this bill might go down. So I think I'd rather work with it more on a postponement. So I will be supporting the postponement.
Okay, so now I get to say, I just want to say that I'm not supporting the postponement, and the reason similar to what Councilmember Willie is saying. I think we need to move forward. I think the public has waited long enough for some type of responsibility on the county's part, and we can move forward with amendments at that point. I think we're dragging our feet too much, and that the postponement would drag it even more out, because data, while data is important, I think prevention is most important. So I am not supporting the postponement, so at this time we're gonna,
I'm sorry. I want to.
okay, you guys putting on your lights after I do the final. Because it is an important issue right now, I'm gonna allow it. Normally we shouldn't, but Councilmember.
All I wanted to do was,
I
just wanted to point out something where Ms. Eoff had mentioned, and Mr. Kern had mentioned this earlier prior, that he had gotten a phone call. And I guess, could you explain what was the cost difference?
We're on the postponement.
But yeah.
Well, whether or not we're gonna postpone, I don't think we're talking about the issue of cost or anything at this
Ms. Eoff
point.
had made a comment about the difference on the prices, so I just wanted to.
On the, okay, so if you can relate it to the postponement, why this is related to the postponement, then you may continue.
Okay, this is related to postpone because we are choosing whether to postpone or not, and I think the fiscal ramifications have an effect on whether we should postpone or not. For example, that person that I talked to, he's specializes in doing a specific thing, offering a specific service that he contracts out to a completely different agency, the only one that does it here on the island. His contract price usually came in $30,000 to $50,000 is what he told me, and the other closest bids, which had to come in from Oahu, were $250,000 to $300,000. So there's a savings of around $200,000 just for one thing, and that service is provided at various projects.
So that's what, okay. Any other discussion on the postponement? Since you guys, now I'm going to close with that and I'm not going to ask any more.
I have a comment on the postponement.
Councilmember Kern.
I think we should postpone. I think if you if the question can't be answered strongly, what is the problem? Show me proof of the problem. We should postpone.
Okay. So I'm going to do the final. I still am. I'm just going to say again, I don't support the postponement. And if Mr. Kern would like to address some of his issues that can be addressed, as Councilmember Willie had stated, that we have 2 more readings at council. All I'm saying is I don't support a postponement because I don't think we should deny the rights of the public to feel that we're holding ourselves accountable to a good code of ethics. So I am not supporting the postponement. So at this time, okay, so we're going to vote on the postponement. So at this, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote. Mr. Clerk?
Ms. Eoff?
Aye.
Ms. Ford?
No.
Mr. Ligang?
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha?
Aye.
Mr. Kern?
Aye.
Mr. Nishi?
Aye.
Ms. Willie?
No.
Mr. Yoshimoto?
Aye.
Chair Poindexter?
No.
Chair Poindexter, you have 6 ayes and 3 noes.
Okay, so it is Bill 181 is postponed to the call of the chair. I like that. And you know how soon I will be calling that
Madam
up.
Chair, so we're asking the administration to at least evaluate Parks and Recreation.
We agreed to postpone to the call of the chair. That's all we've agreed to. That was,
What I did when I made my motion, I said about asking the administration to evaluate into one of the departments.
Can I comment?
Councilmember. Yeah, it's over. So it's a motion, yeah, to the call of the chair. So the if you wanna, if each of us wants to go and do some
A clarification on the motion,
Sure.
though, Mr. Onishi did say to
Yes.
postpone it to specifically get data.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
In my motion, I did state that.
Okay, so that's what everybody can do. The motion is to postpone to the call of the chair, which I'll call it back. So now everybody go get data. Because I cannot go get data and start giving it to each of you. You know, that's
Point-
again,
point of
that's the sunshine
clarification.
law, right? Where's, is Lincoln here? Okay. It's,
Because I did make a motion. And I also included in the
Okay.
motion, which was second by Mr. Kern.
okay, so I'm gonna call a 2-minute recess and I'm gonna have a short discussion with our clerk. So I'm gonna recess for 2 minutes. I'm calling this meeting back to order. Okay, so at this time, I'd just like to clarify that it's a motion to postpone to the call of the chair, and there should be no conditions to the call of the chair of what postponement is. So that's what I have so far, Ms. Point of order. Go ahead.
If the committee is uncomfortable with this, someone can motion to do a reconsideration, we vote on that, it becomes, then if we pass the reconsideration, this thing becomes live on the floor. All this extraneous discussion is verboten here.
Yeah, because it's done, the motion is done, so, okay. So, Bill 181 is postponed to the call of the chair. Okay, so moving on, we go to